If you want, we can start. Hallo? 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 So, I would like to start. My name is Derk. I would like to talk about Confd. Does anyone knows Confd already? I think. Okay. Yeah, it's a very small tool of the CoreOS stack, or CoreOS is using it, and I liked it very much when I did some investigations about it. And I would like to introduce myself. So I'm a software architect working for Siemens, and we are doing mostly industry software in my area at least, and I'm building management systems for security and for physical security. And yeah, right, our customers are a bit different than end customers like Netflix or other companies have. And our big challenge is not the elastic scaling, and also not the cloud. Yeah, it's nice to have, but this is not our main problem. Our challenge is more the diversity, our zoo of interfaces and technologies and systems we need to integrate. And right, so in the end, we cannot use one platform for all our software parts, and we have to let our discipline experts decide how they solve their problems. For example, we have to integrate video systems, and video is of course a Windows stack, and the Scrum team of Windows, of video will decide what they use. And another example is communication. Of course, communication is based on an asterisk, and here we need a Linux stack. And this is really important. Also, the requirements are completely different. For example, the persistence of a video systems is completely different than the persistence for an alarming system or a communication system. And to summarize everything here, it's just all about Conway's law. That means the software follows the company structure or the structure of your teams. And to summarize it again, here microservices and also the containers, they help us quite a lot to put everything together. And that's the main driver for me that I was searching in this area. So why do we use Confd here? I would like to first ask in a different direction, where do you store your configuration? I think, does anyone uses one of these configuration services? Okay, right. etcd is someone using? Okay, and Redis? Okay, so there are some configuration services. I looked to some of them, and from a very high view on it and a very personal view, it's not the problems are more in the details, but I summarized some of the configuration services like that. So, for example, if you know Apache Zookeeper and Consul and Redis and etcd, they are all key value stores, and they are all distributed and quorum based, except Redis. It's a bit different, but they are all strongly consistent. They are all, Consul has some additional features like a service discovery and service health checking, and from the performance point of view, I think there's Redis the very fastest, and from simplicity point of view maybe as well. Right, but the big problem is all right, if you look to all of these configuration services, my team would first choose Consul, because, all right, it covers all the features you need. But the problem I have here is, is the key value store of Consul really the one you want to live with the next years, or not? Are you really sure about it? Do you want to decide it now? And that's more the idea of the CoreOS team, that you have very many little tools and put them together, and they are independent and they have single responsibility. That means if you decide for the very best key value store, you have to choose it. And in my case, I would choose etcd, but you can choose another one and decide later. And for the other problems like service discovery and health check and also service templates, I will come to this later, you can choose another technology. That's more or less the idea, and this is something I really like with CoreOS. So, if you look to the slides, I want to use here etcd, okay? Because for my personal requirements, it's the best one. And in my case, I have several services like in Tomcats and Apache Web Server and other legacy stuff I want to integrate because the team is happy with it. And what is missing here is, for example, a possibility to write the configuration files for the services. Consul is already using it, but etcd is missing it. So, what is Confd? Confd is a very lightweight configuration management tool, and the idea is very simple. It checks periodically the key value store you have configured. You can use any of the key value stores I showed before, and if there's a change, it reads it and writes the new configuration file of your service and restarts it. So that's basically the idea of it, and nothing more. It is implemented in Go. I think Go is a very modern language, which is useful for distributed systems, and a very nice language. And the templates you write for the configuration files, they are Go-based template files, and it consists of two parts I will show you in the coding. you have a template file and you have a TOML file for each service configuration file. And the TOML is just an ini file, and the template files I will show you. Okay, so that's a bit. If you know console, it's the service templates or console templates. They are quite similar to the one of Confd. So if you learn Confd, you can also use and switch easy to console and vice versa. Okay, so I would like to code because I don't like so much slides. I will now show. Does anybody know Tomcat? You're using it. Good. Okay. Right. So you know that in Tomcat you usually have to set the XMX and XMS settings and put them up or whatever. And you also, if you use a manager of the Tomcat, you have to put in the credentials, and if you have a cluster of the Tomcat, you need to define the JVM root. I think these are the most common samples. Okay. Okay. So I will start with it. So I have a small demo prepared, or a sample prepared. And how does it work? I use for this sample a Docker Compose. And in this Docker Compose, I defined 3 containers. One is the etcd service. And this is just an image of Docker Hub. And I define the host name and some commands, parameters. And I define the ports. etcd uses these 2 ports. I expose them. That's it. With the Tomcat service 1 and 2, I use 2 in this sample. I build them on my own. And I give them a name and define an entry point and link it to the etcd service. Right. So this is the sample here, and if you look to Tomcat, I think you will know it, that we need server XML file. Oh wait, right. We have Confd has 2 folders usually. It's one it's called where you have the TOML files, and one folder where you have the templates. And if we start with the server XML, I think you know this file. It's just the basic initial server XML. And if you want to configure something, for example here, I configured that my JVM root must be the host name. And if I look to the TOML file, in this case it's a very easy sample. I just say, all right, this is my template. I want to store it on this location. And I can check the configuration with this command, so I don't ship shit. I reload. For reloading the command, I stop the Tomcat and start it again. So that's about the template. Here you don't see etcd yet. Another sample is Tomcat user. There I want to store, okay, it's not IT security, but I want to store username, password in clear text in my etcd database, because yeah, it's a management user interface. So you could, if you secure it by firewalls, you can just save your username, password to the etcd database. Okay, And what you define here is, first of all, a prefix for the etcd node, and then the keys like username and password. The source file and destination file you define here again, and a reload command. Good. Okay, so that's Tomcat users, and I did a third example with the Catalina start. I want XMX and XMS, and here I was configuring the own Catalina start sh command, right? And the template looks like this. This is interesting. How to read now the keys from the key value store. It's just a small Go command. It's called get value, get v, and then you define the key name. You don't need to define the prefix anymore because it is hard-coded before. Okay, so that's it about. I would like to show it. Okay, so I use Docker Compose. I will stop the containers first and remove everything, and then I build everything again and say Docker up and recreate everything. So this I will do. Right. So now my containers are rebuilt and restarted, and now the Tomcats are starting. It's try to stop them, but they were already stopped, so yeah. This is the normal output now. Okay, so what you see here is that you get an error that the key is not found. And what is behind here? We are here in a loop. I didn't explain the loop yet. I will show you. Because if you, in my Tomcat Docker container, I wrote a own entry point file for this Docker container, and this is for most Confd based containers like that. That means you define here, for example, the etcd node, and the most important stuff is here, that you try to configure the templates, and if this does not work, you retry it. And in the end, if it works, you start confd in a normal mode. So this is always the pattern, how you do it, mostly. Okay, so here our Tomcat is waiting for the right keys in our etcd store. I show how they look like. Yes, if I look to my prefix Tomcat in my etcd, it's running my etcd key value store, but it has no key. Can you see it? Key not found. So I insert them. The easiest is, of course, to use curl. And I use here, for example, curl, and put for this key the value 550 megabytes for the XMX. For the password, I use the value admin. And all of these curl calls I do in one row. So I set all the keys and all the values for the keys here. If I do this, you see that Tomcat is really starting. It's out of the loop in the Confd, and we can now check if it's really running. So first look to the Tomcat keys, and you see that they're stored in my etcd. Good. And now I can also try Tomcat here. and it is running. It was the port 8081. That's fine. And I try to do server status. Oh, okay. I put already in my username password, but we will change it in a minute. And you see that the virtual memory settings are quite what we defined. And if I change, for example, the password to admin 54, I can now try to access the Tomcat, and now I get to ask username password admin 54, and it should work. And the same for the other Tomcats in the cluster, because we changed it centrally, of course. I put in admin 54. Okay, so this is working. All right. One more slide.
Willkommen bei VoiceOver.
Oh. Okay. So you find the running sample on this page, and documentation of Confd also on GitHub. So, right, what's next? I was comparing it with Console, you know, and Console has some nice features already bound in, but they're really bound to Console. And you know, I like to have separate things and single responsibility and decide as late as possible. That's what I really like. And so the next step is service discovery. There's a nice comparison about console and etcd and so on. You can find it on the page here below. And one picture is this one, which suits to my sample quite well, so I will explain it. So at the moment we have etcd as the key value store, and we have confd that is reading from the key value store, and then I restart some Tomcats and so on. But what is nice, if you can just add Glider Labs register, and this is a really very small, simple container that reads from your Docker environment all the running container and stores them to the key value store. And you can configure which key value store you want. You know, that's the nice thing here. And this I would like to show. Right. This is okay. I would like to show then Apache mod proxy with a balancer sample here and use this as an input. So, what am I doing? You have seen my Docker Compose files, and what I now do is I add some more parts here. For example, this an HTTP server I want to add, and also this small register Docker container. By the way, do you know already the version 2 of Docker Compose file? So this I learned at least the last day. It was quite interesting because here you can define also volumes, and it has some new features with networking settings and so on. So this is quite nice. Okay, so what am I doing here? I add another container for Apache Web Server. Why Apache Web Server? It's still the mostly commonly used web server, I think, and if our customers are happy with it, why should I change it? So I tried with Apache Web Server. Yeah, it is a bit more complex than other solutions, but it's fine. And right, I link it that I want to use Tomcat service 1 and 2, and I also add another container. This is this register container, and this is just reading from your Docker host the running containers and add them to the etcd key value store. And this is quite interesting. I try it and save it. Okay. So I stop it. Right. And now I just recreate everything. Okay. So again, I recreated everything, and also the etcd key value store is deleted and everything. So I have to define the parameters again, and now my Tomcat starts. If I look, oh, okay. Yes, it's the wrong directory. So now these containers are running at the moment, and this looks fine. etcd, HTTP service, my Tomcats, and so on. Good. I tried. First, these keys you know, and what we defined here is I configured, one second, I configured that I want to use the prefix Docker services, and there I want to store the running containers. And now you see it under this key, under this directory, that all these containers are running, and this works fine. Okay. Okay, so this is fine. But how to use this information? So I extended also the Apache Docker container here a bit for this, and write, of course, a Confd template. What have I done here? It's again an entry point where I do a loop and wait until I have all my keys. Okay, and then I start Confd. Of course, I need also a template file and a TOML file. The TOML file is reading exactly the key Docker services, and that means also if all child keys are changed, I get notified. So what you find here with the keys, you need this information to tell Confd where to look at, and if something changes here, Confd has to do something. And here it is Docker services, and what is it doing? It is copying the proxy hapconf to the mods available directory of Apache Web Server. I think many of you will know this. It's a standard way for load balancing for Tomcat in Apache. Okay, and if it changes, the Apache will be restarted. Right, so we look to the template. It's also very simple. You need a proxy path. This is for example. I think in Tomcat you find the examples application, web apps, you know. And this I want to publish on the Apache web server, also with examples. And this is what I'm doing. And then I just read with Go templates the etcd keys under Docker services, and I want to match everything that is something like Tomcat service and so on. And these keys I use, and I use these keys and write balancer entries here. I show you how it looks like. So Docker, for example, if I choose one of the containers, no, it's the wrong, sorry. I go to Apache web server and I want to look to the config file. So it's in Apache, and then I think it was mods available, and there I look which config file I have, right? So you see in the end this file is quite up to date, and I can show what's inside here, proxy hap.conf. So now you see that the entries are written in this config file, and it's working. Okay. Now we show it running. That means I will start Apache web server. I will access it. This is my Tomcat. This is my Apache web server. You know it. I look to server status, and here I see that my proxy configuration is using these two Tomcats as defined in this file. And now it's getting interesting. I hope that my example is working. Yes, it is. Now it's forwarding the requests to the Tomcats. And for example, there's an sample with the sessions. And here you see which Tomcat is accessed here. And if I do a reload, it's just alternating between them and accessing both of them. Okay. So now I want to be very mean and right, and just kill one of the Tomcats. Docker PS. Oh, I'm in the container. This is not correct. Docker PS, and then I see, all right, these are my running containers. Right, and now I can just kill one of them. For example, this one. Okay, so you see in the background that the system got notified, and let's see whether I still access the first one. No, I don't. So the balancer is working, and what is also nice, it's not just working. If you look to server status, you see that it is even removed from the configuration. You have just one Tomcat inside. Okay, so you can also look to the file if I start it. So it has a new timestamp, and of course it is updated here. You have just one member. Okay, so this is it about. I would like to now extend the sample, then you understand it, how to program it, and for example, we can just add some more Tomcats. This is something we should do, and so one is enough. I think you believe me that it is working. Right. Okay. So it's as easy than that. You just add another Tomcat, and you recreate, because I changed it in the Docker Compose, so I just recreate all the machines with one step. Then I have one more Tomcat here, and if I run it, add the keys, you see that it's working again, hopefully. Yeah, I have 3 Tomcats, and if I use the example, I hope it's working. Yeah, okay, that I get one of the 3. So it's very easy to add more Tomcats here. Okay. If you want some more minutes, then I would show you in the sample how to add parameter, and I think that's the basic here. 1 second. Okay, in the Tomcat you have, for example, we have the port 8009 for our mod proxy, and this we want to use, and we want to add some more, maybe some more threads. This would be something. I think it is called max thread or something. Yeah, it is. So I quickly added one like this, and if we do it, we have improved the sample, and we can commit it afterwards. So here, max threads. Oh. I will copy it again. So 8009, where is it? Okay, and now I define just an value for get value. You want max threads value here to be used. Okay, so now I changed my TOML template file, and now I have to say to my TOML file, where is it? server that I also need keys, or I can just copy it from the other, a prefix and keys. So my prefix is Tomcat, my keys are this here, and then I just say max threads I want to add. Okay. Good. Okay, I think that's it. And in my server XML file I have it. Yep. Okay. And let's just restart it, because I changed also the templates and everything. Not just the Confd gets the changes of the etcd key value store, but it does not check the templates. So I have to rebuild the containers, and hopefully it is starting. Right. It is starting, and I get even more errors here for every Tomcat that a key is missing, of course. And now I need to add a new curl script or something that I want to define also the others. So let's do it like this. And then it was max threads, and which number I want. I think 1, 2, 3 or something like this is fine. Okay. Let's see if it's working. Let's look to the first Tomcat directly. Okay. Created, updated. This looks fine. Let's look to server status. Oh, now it was starting. Okay, so this is my Tomcat. I will try to log in, and I see this is my port. Yeah, my 8009 port has 1, 2, 3 threads. So that's working. Okay. So this is the practical part. I don't want to play the sound again. Okay, so do you have any questions? Yes. Yeah. Right. The entry point is a mechanism of Docker. Yeah. And right. Yes. 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 Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there is, but these are the Docker tools you can use and so on. But for our use case, it's absolutely enough. I really want to store configuration data of Tomcat, and if I change them, it has to restart. I'm not interested if I change a template itself. I don't care. I can recreate the container and deploy it on a hub and so on. So for me, it's more important. I have a set of configuration variables and so on. I want to offer my customer. He can set these, and then all the containers that are interested should get restarted and get notified about it. So, right. Yes. Service checking. Right. So Console is offering this service. Here in this case, I have to find a tool, and I think it's also a matter on your deployment. Maybe you have already a mechanism in your environment. Some use, I don't know, different mechanisms for checking that the containers are running and so on. So I didn't think about this yet, because there's such a lot of improvements in the CoreOS and Docker environment. So I'm expecting new ideas and tools, but this is not a problem for me for today, but maybe for tomorrow. And yeah, I think it's nice if you stay flexible and put together the puzzle, and you can use whatever you want here. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. The example with the load balancer is a bit double feature somehow, because the load balancer itself should notify if a Tomcat is down, and you don't need to reconfigure the mod proxy stuff. But if you add another Tomcat, then it's working, it's scaling, and this is quite nice, I think. You don't need to touch this file anymore. Right. Yes.
Can you tell a bit more about CoreOS? Because now you've shown all the examples on your netbook. How is that working on CoreOS? Is it just like you have different CoreOS machines when each running a Confd, or how is it like? Because I'm pretty new to CoreOS.
Okay. So I'm also not an expert about around the cool CoreOS commands and features and so on. I'm just picking the cherries, you know, which I think are interesting, and what I really like from CoreOS is just the idea that this of single responsibility, the Linux principle that you can reuse small components and put them together as you need it. And the only two I really know is etcd and Confd. I didn't use any other components yet. So no, I haven't. But I would like to try it. Yeah, it's very interesting. And that's how I get one step forward after the other, and I don't like to have a big tool that is destroying everything. Okay, what I'm, for example, also wishing is Confd for Windows. This would be really nice. I hope that this will exist somewhere. Right, the service health checking is also a really good question. what to use here. I'm still searching, and maybe you give me also some of your input, what to do and how to do, and I think it's really different depending on the environment you're using. And right, and I also would like to put it in the cloud, this sample, but this is also not really hard. You can put Docker containers easily in the Amazon cloud. Right. Okay, are there more questions? Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. I think it should work. Just try it. Would be interesting, and why not? Right. Okay. So thank you very much. If you like to use Confd, it would be fine. I would be happy because I was really, yeah, it was a really nice try because I learned it within some hours and it was just working, and you can combine it with other things. So, yeah, okay, that's it. Thanks.